This podcast is brought to you in part by the support of the AMTV Patreons. Thank you. To AMTV Radio. This is the podcast where I'm joined by a very special guest each time, and we talk about, well, whatever we want to, quite frankly. And this time I am joined by one of the fastest growing WhoTubers in the scene at the minute. He laughs, but it's true. It is honestly true. He makes some great review, in-depth analysis content, and it's a pleasure to have him on today. Introducing Harbo Wholmes. How you doing, man?
Hello, yeah, I'm alright, thanks.
And first things
it's weird, it's like...
So I did say that correctly, did I?
Like that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank God.
You're one of the select few that just managed to nail it first try.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah, it's weird when it's like, I am, I guess, one of the fastest growing, but it never feels like it. It always feels like I'm still like a channel of like 2,000 subscribers or something. Like, and then I look, I'm like, oh, that's all. Okay. Well, when did that happen?
No, it's mad, honestly, because I first found your channel. I think it was just after the Timeless Children went out, so like last March, and I think then you had just hit, I think, 1,000 subs, if I've got my dates right. And then every now and then I'd like check in. It's like, oh, now he's on like 5,000, now 10,000, now it's honestly incredible.
That video and my Series 12 video as a whole, just like those two really blew up, I guess, just because they were just in the right time. I just released those at the perfect moment.
Yeah, it's a funny old world, this YouTube landscape, isn't it? But
yeah.
I mean, I think most people listening who are aware of you know you for your Doctor Who content and stuff. And I was having a look back, and you first started making Doctor Who videos as sort of like late 2018, like sort of just after Series 11 started airing. So
I think it was actually...
Was it earlier?
I think I made them like in the lead up to it, and then released them sort of during, and I think that was around the time.
Yeah, so
because I'd actually kind of disassociated myself with the fan base between sort of like during Series 10, but then in the lead up to Series 11, I kind of got really back into it. And I was working at like a FedEx warehouse at the time, doing like night shifts, and then I moved on to day shifts, and I was just like, I just want to do something. Like, I've always been a creative person, editing. I wanted to go into like the film industry and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll give myself some editing practice. I don't know, make some video essays or something. And that's just where it came from. Really, it was just the perfect storm. Yeah,
I love that though. It's like I've chatted with a few people who have, I guess, sort of gone to YouTube in a similar vein of like whatever they were doing in the regular day to day just wasn't, whether it wasn't fulfilling or anything like that. I imagine night shifts are a killer as well. So doing something different.
They really were.
Yeah,
they were hell.
And as I've mentioned earlier, around the time of the Timeless Children, with your video as well, you hit 1K and then 30K. So I mean, you've already sort of said it doesn't always feel like you've grown so quickly, because you've essentially gained like nearly 30,000 subs in a year, which for anyone that's mental. That's so mental. But
it is insane.
Yeah, but do you ever have like a moment where you sort of stop and think, my God, like I've managed to achieve this milestone in a year? Do you know what I mean? Does it ever sort of take you by surprise?
So sometimes, like I guess I'm one of those people that like I'm always pushing for more. So sometimes I sit there and like I don't think, wow, I managed to hit this. I'm like, okay, cool, I hit this, but I want to get further and stuff. But sometimes I do have a thing. I'm just like, how did I manage that? Like, how did I manage to get this far?
Yeah, no, especially because
it was the case of like.
Oh no, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I've over the course of a year, I've basically been able to turn this into a full-time job, like earning more than I did at my old part-time job, like when I was, like just before like COVID and lockdown and everything. Course, and then thanks to that massive influx, I was able to turn this into a proper thing. Yeah, and just how quickly that all happened.
Yeah, it's sort of the dream in a way, because I guess a lot of us who do this sort of thing, I think we go into it not assuming it is going to be a full-time job because it is so precarious and things jump and leap. But
exactly,
I guess for you, it must have been quite a thing of, oh yeah, I can actually make this full-time pretty quick.
I've been like, I've been on YouTube, not like always making stuff, but I've been like using YouTube for over a decade at this point, and always looking up to these people thinking, oh, they're the best jobs ever. They can just make what they want. And, of course, once you actually get to that point, you realize how much more goes into it. And it's not like the dream job everyone thinks it is. But yeah, it's like to think that I've achieved that, where I've spent so long on a platform, seeing kind of how people become big and stuff, and just like following all these people I watch, and then just realizing to other people, I'm that channel that they like really enjoy, and it's just so weird. It just I can't like comprehend it. I have these channels where I'll drop everything to watch and upload for. I'm waiting there. I asked them 5 minutes, they're going to upload in a minute, and then to realize like I'm now on the other end of that. It's still surreal.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy for you, man, because as I say, for a lot of us, it is sort of that dream come true state where we can do this as a full-time job. So more power to you for doing it. And
I mean, I'm just happy the community embraced me, because I mean, I started off being like, no, I'm not going to call myself a YouTuber. I'm not a YouTuber. And then like these people, they're not paying attention to me. Why should I pay attention to them? But then, now I feel like the community's really embraced me over the past year, and I'm just really thankful for it.
And I mean, I think over the past year, I think it's fair in saying like the bread and butter of your channel at the minute has sort of been going through the revival era of Doctor Who and reviewing each episode rather in depth. And I mean, what sort of sparked you to, I guess, embark on that? Because obviously I know, YouTube's been around a fair while now. There have been other people who have reviewed the new series. So what was it for you that thought, I can do this, and sort of put, what were you going to bring to the table with it, if that makes sense?
This is going to make me feel bad, actually. But I originally started just because it was something easy.
No,
like I
fair.
thought, right, I can just churn these out while I make as a gap between video essays, while I wait for inspiration for those, or while I'm making those, I'll just make something random. But then it started off something I could just edit in a couple of days, chuck it out there, and then work on something else. But now it's like, this is my main. I'm spending like an entire week editing a 50 minute like review on the series 4 finale, and I'm just like, how did I get to this point where I'm putting only time into this when this was supposed to just be the side projects? It's just wild.
It snowballed, hasn't it? But I mean, I think for me at least, what I like about your takes is, well, what's always good is you're not afraid to share what you really think. You don't just go with like a very general opinion. And your use of like, it sounds weird, but it's true. Like your use of the clips you use and the style of it, it's very watchable. It's very digestible. Whereas I've seen, back in it makes me sound old now, back in the early days of YouTube, if I wanted to see a series 4 finale review, I'd have to deal with like a 144p PNG of like David Tennant pulling a pose, and someone with a very scratchy microphone being like, I didn't like it. So it's obviously things have come a long way, but I think your videos sort of have all the elements to make it watchable and accessible as well, I'd argue.
Yeah. I mean, the video length may not be as accessible these days, but I do try a lot when I'm editing to like think about what clips I'm using. Like, I have them all separated into blocks. I'm like, okay, well, I have 6 seconds basically to put across what I'm talking about in this like 10 seconds of audio or something. Like, I have to make sure this is the exact right piece of the clip. And and then I've got to copyright and stuff, I've got to bring in those PNGs and stuff. But it's a lot goes into it, and I feel like it does make it worth it for the viewers, because as you said, it's digestible. Absolutely.
And at least your PNGs aren't in 144p quality, which I greatly appreciate. So, but I mean, that brings me on to something I definitely wanted to discuss with you, because this is something all of us, I think, creatives in the space who talk about Doctor Who have at some point. It's YouTube's good old friendly content ID system. Now, I'm sure most people listening or watching, you'll know what this is. It's the bane of, because you probably heard us complain about it numerous times. But with yourself, obviously, like you say, you try and minimize those clips to like 6-8 seconds, like the magic number supposedly that gets you by.
Yeah.
But yet recently still, oddly enough, after the fact those videos have gone out, you've had manual claims from the BBC. And just from a creator's standpoint, because I'm sure other people go through this as well, what's your approach to dealing with that? Because obviously there are risks involved.
Yeah, well, I mean, at first, as you say, I try and minimize it during the actual editing process. Like, as I said, I try to keep it to 6 seconds when I'm going through, so I don't have to do it. Because it used to be the case when I first get flagged for a bunch of copyright around my, like, the latter half of my Series 3 reviews. It would be a case of, I'd have the video all edited, realize it's blocked when I'm putting it up unlisted, and then it would spend like an entire day, taking it down, re-editing it to take out the section, uploading it again, it flagging a different piece, and it would just be an entire day. So I'd eventually put it into my just workflow where it's okay, I'll make sure none of the clips are over this amount of time at all, so that I'll never have issues. And that worked fine for a bit, and then they decided just that wasn't working. They were just going to keep claiming random bits anyway. And it's really just pot luck what videos get claimed at this point. And I'll always say, like, a massive thanks to Mr. TARDIS Reviews for helping me with my disputes and appeals, because I was completely lost when I was just sort of, I didn't know how to dispute them or appeal them, because I'd put in a dispute, they'd reject it, and I'd think, well, the appeal's too risky, I don't want to try that because they could strike my channel, whatever. Thanks to Mr. TARDIS, I now actually have stuff that seems to work. So
good.
I mean, it is just luck basically with Content ID.
It is just such a shame, though. I mean, even especially from like a creative standpoint, because it almost seems like the more creative you want to be with your content, it's almost like you get penalized more for doing that. So, has there ever been a point in the last year where, say, if you, like you say, near the end of your Series 3 reviews, you had like a string of them, like in a row, bang, bang, bang. Was there any point where you sort of felt, do you know what? Sort of that what's the point? If they're gonna do this, did you ever have that moment?
I had a massive crisis of confidence and thinking I'm just gonna have to quit.
Right.
I think it was around the time that Miss TARDIS reached out to me, because obviously I think it was my Utopia review or something got rejected, and I was just like, because they were blatantly in the wrong. They literally claimed, I think it was like 5 seconds of video or something and 5 seconds of a still image. And I was just like, that's not really how this system works. And that just broke me inside. And I just like, I don't know what to do. I just desperately hoped someone knew what to do. And luckily Miss TARDIS reached out. But there's been quite a lot of cases. And, more recently I had a video blocked, even though it had been up for like 2 weeks. And that was a massive blow for me when that happened. Like, even though I'm confident it'll be fine and all that stuff, it's just still to see that happen, it's just it's always demoralizing.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think it's no secret to say that the way the Content ID system and appeals thing is all organized is that it's massively in favor of the claimant rather than being like a 50-50 split.
It's completely broken.
So it's a problem that I think not just WhoTubers, but I think all manner of different YouTubers have had for years and years and years now. But it's just such a shame hearing, like, like yourself say you had that moment of thinking, shall I just stop them? Because ideally, you enjoy making these and there's an audience for them. You never want to feel like that, but it's almost
like really frustrating.
No, man, it's hard. But I mean, hopefully, touchwood going forward, you've got the, like, as you say, the knowledge from Mr. TARDIS to fight these things and that they'll be resolved. But do you think, from between two creatives, do you think, I don't think they'll ever do it, but like if we said to the BBC, hey, how about you organise like a group or a division where you liaison with people who make stuff about not just Doctor Who, like BBC content, so it can be like more of a fair. Would you be in favour of something like that if that ever came about?
I'd be massive. Like I always think there should be more communication between like these things, because with the YouTube process, you have no idea. Like there's just no transparency or communication or anything. I'd be massively involved with just any kind of like more communication. So I would be in favour of just something where they can kind of tell us what their standards are.
Yeah. just speak to us, BBC. Just talk to us.
Exactly.
We're only human. We're not invisible. Yeah. But yeah, I just think and also in relation to that, I guess. So I think it's well known as well that using still images is safer than using a video clip.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment where you thought, oh, I'll just use like 100% still images, or were you always thinking, no matter what, I will fight?
There's been times I've considered it. And, I kind of did it with one of my reviews because it was about Big Finish, which, there are no real visuals. So, I just feel like it makes it harder to engage with.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about like specific scenes and, you're saying, oh, I love how the camera movement is done here. But if it's just a still image, the viewer doesn't really know unless they then go out and seek the episode.
Yeah.
So it's why, I'm moving towards more using like just more still images, but I still want a good balance between that and clips, kind of like image, clip, image, and etc. Just then, the BBC can't claim anything, but I've still got the actual moving image clips to kind of accompany it. So.
And I mean, at the time we're recording this, as you say, you're working on your Series 4 finale video. I'm sure by the time this is out...
finished it, actually, yeah.
Oh, good on you, man. Good on you. But by the time this is out, you'll be some point in the future, no doubt. But assuming, are you planning on going all the way up to Series 12 and beyond, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, when this goes out, I may have... I don't know when this will go out, but I'll probably finish Series 4 by that point. But yeah, I'm going to take a sort of a break as I do the specials, maybe like one every couple of months or something, and then just mainly do Torchwood or video essays or anything. That's low key just because I want 2023 to coincide with Day of the Doctor. And, so I'm just kind of messing around the schedule a bit. But, I think it allows me to sort of do some creativity this year because I want to kind of expand and stuff. But yeah, I'm planning on doing all the way up to just current, like, because I expect, it'll be like Series 14 or something by the time I get to that.
I was going to say, it'll take you some time before you get there, but nevertheless.
Oh, yeah. At the moment, my channel has like an expiration date of 2024, if all my measurements are right. So,
and like, have you ever felt, because I think when you have a main series on your channel, I think sometimes there is that, not temptation, but like pressure almost that, like this is the show that, gets the most numbers or whatever. And like you say, you want to do something different sometimes. Like you want to do Torchwood stuff or you want to do side things. Has there ever been a pressure where, like, what's great is that you do it. I see you do it. You put out Torchwood stuff. But is there ever a thing of like, oh, I should just focus on the main series and nothing else? Or have you always sort of fought against that?
Because I guess, like, in a weird thing, I'm both an ambitious and not an ambitious person at the same time. But like in that aspect, I'm ambitious for it. So I don't want to let myself be tied down to just doing these Series 4, like just all these reviews in general, because I know that like it may be fine in the short run, but in the long run, it becomes more damaging because then it becomes harder to diversify content.
Yeah.
It's even why, at the start I was like, oh, I don't want to just spec into Doctor Who, even though, I ended up doing that. But I've always tried to keep a good balance of things so that if I do stop reviews or, eventually when I do run out of reviews, my channel can still bring in some viewers for other stuff. So yeah, I've always kind of wanted to do more than just the reviews. But it's funny though, because like when I started the Torchwood reviews, I was like, okay, this is just something, January's a dead month, something to test out in January. And they did really big numbers. And I was like, okay, I did the first couple as bonus uploads along the Series 4 reviews and actually did better than the Series 4 reviews. So I was like, because I'd even negotiated with sponsors and stuff saying like, okay, I think like my Partners in Crime video is going to do better than any of these Torchwood videos in January. And it didn't. And I was like, I was like, that was a gamble that did not pay off.
It's just so funny though, isn't it? Because obviously, Torchwood does have its fans, of course, but I would have done the exact same as you thought.
Those videos massively like just like popped off out of nowhere. I did not expect it.
Yeah.
Because I'd been working really hard to like make double the content basically.
Yeah.
And it was killing me. That's why I eventually stopped doing like 2 uploads a week for a short while, because I was making 2 videos a week, 2 like 30-minute videos a week. It's not an easy thing to make. But yeah, it's like if I'd known how good Torch would have done, I wouldn't have needed to do that. So
yeah, you could have just said Series 4 can wait, give it 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll just do Torch.
It's just weird because people kept badgering me about Series 4, so I was like, okay, I'll release it, and then it didn't do as well as I expected. So I was like, huh. Why does everyone keep badgering me about it then?
It's so funny as well because Series 4 out of like I think the Tenant era is the one that often gets, that's the one people have the most like nostalgia for because of how hyped
that's
it
why
was.
I thought it would do so well, because I was like, well, everyone loves Series 4. Yeah. But then I guess maybe that's part of the reason why it doesn't do as well, because everyone's already heard everything about Series 4 before. So I don't know.
Just wait till you get to Matt Smith, mate. You're going to get all sorts of comments there, I'm sure.
I'm going to get crucified for that.
I think I've seen on Twitter you're in a similar vein to me, where nothing against Matt Smith the performer, but like the era itself you don't necessarily connect with as much.
It's one of those things where, you know, if I say, oh, I don't really like it, and people think, oh, you hate it, you want it to be erased from existence. I'm like, no, I just don't like it as much as the other ones, you know. Like just one of those weird ones. But yeah, I'm definitely going to get some flack, especially because I already get comments saying, oh, you just like, it's just like Davies circle jerk on this channel or something. I'm like, that's not going to help when I get to Smith. People already think I hate Moffat, even though I don't. Like, it's just weird. The range of comments I see on my videos is always just baffling.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like, I bet, like, I remember commenting on, I think it was just a bit of like news at the time. That was what it was. It was at the start of January. You know, there was that rumor, oh, is Jodie leaving or not? Which at the time of this recording is still not confirmed nor denied. But I remember at that time I just expressed how they weren't perfect, but I enjoyed series 11 and 12, and that was all I said. I just said I enjoyed it. That was it. And I got comments like, oh my god, you're such a shill. Like your fake views. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I just said I liked it. Like I think
I'd love to be a BBC show, you know. I mean, if anything, it's the opposite. They're taking money away from me.
Yeah, BBC, if you're listening, I know we just sort of slightly slagged you off.
You can pay me if you want, you know. I'm happy to show.
It was that great tweet you did a while back about like, oh, they're paying me like less than minimum wage or whatever.
Yeah, like, can I claim benefits if the BBC are taking my money like this? You know, if I'm doing all this work for them.
Honestly,
like,
but
I mean, every video I upload, without fail, will always have at least one comment about Chibnall or Jodie. Just no matter what the subject matter,
even if you don't mention it whatsoever, it's like
exactly. Like every single video, there is always one. It's like I wait for it at this point. It's like a bingo card. It's like, well, there it is.
Yeah, and I mean, as you said, like the positive side of the fandom you've had is that, as you said, in the past year, you've really been embraced on the whole by the community, which is great. On the flip side, as we all sadly know, and I think we have to acknowledge, like, this fandom's not perfect. Like all fandoms, there are those who sort of try and instigate beef, basically, or debates or whatever. Obviously, as you've grown and stuff, you've become more well known. Have you ever have people ever tried to sort of drag you into that sort of thing? And if they have, like, how do you sort of combat it? But
I like, obviously I've taken some cheap shots here and there on that side of the fan base in some videos, but no, like none of those channels have really tried starting any like drama with me or anything, so I've mainly been able to keep out of that. But I do see it where other channels, obviously I'm friends with Harry's, and he's obviously had many runs in with that lot, so I do see a lot of like back and forth in the community, but I'm thankfully sort of able to stay in my own little like sheltered bubble where these people don't come for me.
That's where I want to stay. That's where I want to stay as well. It's weird sometimes, isn't it? I think it's mainly a thing on Twitter rather than YouTube when you see like these things, and everyone's calling it's discourse now. But just do you find it? So you find it quite easy then not to just sort of leap in and get involved in that?
I don't really like follow a whole lot of people on Twitter. I mainly just see things from like some things from some accounts I've liked sometimes show up. So I don't really get into the toxicity. Like I just mainly hear about it, but that's not me denying it's bad. Obviously I know how bad it is. I'm just able to stay away from it, and I never really see stuff I want to get involved, and even then, I see stuff and I'm like, it's not worth it. Sometimes it's because some of these like accounts and some of these channels and stuff, there's just no convincing them. You can't change their mind, so it's just that there's no point getting involved.
Absolutely. And so see, everyone take Harbo's words here and just stay out of it. Just get in your bubbles and stay out of it. But that's the more negative side of the community. What about like this lovely show we all love, Doctor Who? What was your journey with it then? Because we've all got one. Like, how did you start out?
All my life basically. I was about 5-6 years old maybe when Rose came out, and that was the first one I watched. I just watched from first broadcast, and it's just been part of my life that entire time. I'm apart from that like little schism in sort of 2017 2016, there's not been any time I sort of lived without it. It's always been a part of my life, and that I guess that's why I'm always so positive in my reviews, because I've got such a firm connection with the show.
No, you're like me and many others, the generation that came in with the revival and how bloody good it was as well. Was there any, if you can remember, like as you say, you went along on first broadcast, was there any episode in the revival, I guess, that was like a peak for you on first broadcast, or was like this is the one?
I know it may sound like nostalgic revisionism, but series 3 and 4 just in general, because like I was just in that perfect age to remember it and enjoy every second of it. Like collecting Doctor Who Kids magazine or whatever, with their stupid little toys. There was like a Dalek brain or something, like just these weird toys.
Did you have Battles in Time?
I've got a few. I still got a few, I think. But
nice.
I never had loads. I think I only ever got them just through chance. I don't think I ever got any packs myself. I just ended up with a bunch of cards. So I think my brother had a bunch of cards that then came into my possession. But like I was just like Doctor Who crazy as a kid. And
man. Oh,
I do remember. I guess the series 4 finale definitely stuck out for me, especially Stolen Earth. That definitely stuck out to me as a kid, because I just remember the buzz around that story. It was insane, because that was kind of the era where everyone liked Doctor Who, no matter who you were. It wasn't like something to be ashamed of. People didn't think, oh, it's just a kid's show, like oh, we don't watch that, we're too good for that. Like everyone cared about the show at that point. And it was just that I'd say that was probably the peak, like growing up, of when Doctor Who was its best for me.
And a lot of people would agree with you. And it's you are right, like for those who either don't remember or weren't there, like especially if you were in school like we were, like you're right, that art, especially David Tennant, everyone and their mother watched Doctor Who. It was and like going into Toys R Us, seeing the big the big display, and
so much.
Man. But did you?
There's that.
Sorry, I was going to say, did you find it when Matt Smith came in? Because I remember this so clearly. I was in high school when he came in, and almost overnight there was like that weird drop off where Doctor Who suddenly didn't become something everyone liked. It was back to if you say, I watched Doctor Who, it's like, oh, it's that kids show or that,
It was slightly different for me, because that was the exact time I moved from primary to secondary. Literally, 2010 was when I started secondary school. So, it was all these people I didn't even know. So I didn't know if they had watched it and then dropped off. But there was definitely a shift when no one talked about it anymore. And it was considered, it's a kid's show, with too grown up for that. So it's just like, I like Doctor Who, but I won't tell anyone. But there was definitely a thing where with Series 5, I do feel like if maybe the Capaldi era had come before the Smith era, it would have retained a lot of fans, because the Davies era matured with its audience, which is something I think I've touched upon before, where as you grew up, the stories became a bit darker and more mature. And if the Capaldi era had then come, that would have been good for our generation to transition into that. So I think jumping into Smith era, which, as I said, isn't bad. I like that. I have my own reasons for preferring that the Capaldi era came after the Smith era, because that came with my later development as a person and perfectly coincided with all that. But the Smith era, I think, was a bit too geared towards kind of a family kiddie atmosphere compared, when you look at Series 4 with the amount of darkness in that.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then go to Series 5, where that there is darkness, but there's almost too much of an optimistic sheen over it.
Yeah.
That kind of disguises all that.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, like those early Moffat years in particular are very. The word is fairy tale, isn't it? Like that is literally, and that's fine. Like Doctor Who
it's good
can be a fairy tale.
Yeah,
but yeah, you might be right. It's just like where we were in our lives. That lovely teenage angst of like, oh, I don't believe in fairy tales.
I don't want to do any of this kid stuff anymore. Like I don't watch kid shows. I watch cool stuff. I want to watch action movies.
Yeah, edgelord stuff. Like I watch edgy stuff. But yeah. But not like, and I mean, you've just said there, like you prefer, on the whole, like the Capaldi era to the Smith era, and I mean, Series 8 is my favorite New Who season. Sorry, haters out there, I'm not going to change my opinion on that. And I know from what I've seen, a lot of the criticisms that series gets in particular is, yes, it's darker. Some would argue it's too mature and too dark in some of its themes, particularly, you know, with the finale, the don't cremate me thing.
I mean, I personally prefer that because I always like when Doctor Who gets dark. Like, I prefer that darkness of the Capaldi era. And it's just when, you know, it's just the perfect storm. You know, I feel like Moffat's writing some of his best work in like that early Capaldi era. And, you know, Capaldi, you know, he's just, everyone loves him. He's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, and then obviously Clara, I know, is divisive, but she's my favorite companion.
Fair
so it's
play,
just Series 8 is just Series 8 and 9, I guess, are just the perfect two series in the Moffat era.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people say, oh, I don't like Clara because, you know, it's like Clara Who, not Doctor Who, or their relationship's toxic.
Kind of
but
the point.
I was going to say, isn't that kind of the whole point of it?
Their character journey, you know?
Yeah. And well, like their arguments, people are like, oh, I don't like it when they argue. It's like, well, one, arguments, in my opinion, are more, it's more interesting. And also it's not like...
It's like the difference between Series 1 Rose and the Doctor versus Series 2 Rose and the Doctor. You know, Series 1, they had realistic arguments. You know, they felt like real people because they had different perspectives. But in Series 2, they were just, let's just agree with everything each other say. Let's get all mopey when we're away from each other. You know?
No, exactly. And I mean, do you think the shift, you know, when you get Series 9, obviously Capaldi's character has a big tonal shift. Do you think that shift was too sharp?
Oh no, not at all. I think I think his character journey works perfectly because you know he has a very defined sort of way. I guess it's kind of similar to the Ninth Doctor, where he starts off this very angsty, dark, and moody person, and he just comes through his companion. He grows to just appreciate life.
Yeah,
and you know, and then I guess because Moffat took in a different direction by the mind wipe at the end of Series 9, you then saw all that, you know, rather than him resetting because of losing Clara, he doesn't know what he lost, so he's able to just continue on that carefree sort of enjoyable journey. I think it's very nice that you have, I guess, 3 Capaldis, like 3 12th Doctors. Each one is very defined with how they act, and I think that's kind of what you want with a Doctor. You don't want it just to be the same thing.
Yeah,
which as much as I love like Tennant, I feel like sometimes he fell into the trap of just being, it's kind of just the same. And it's definitely the same with Smith, where, you know, Series 5 and 6 Smith is basically the exact same character.
That's fair. And again, I think it's like, well, you could say it's down to the actors to some degree, but I do think it is also in like as you say, like the themes. I know people are going to mean that the themes thing, the themes or the writing of it. Yeah, like, because I mean, it's markedly vast how much I don't like Series 7 Clara to how much I love Series 8 and 9 Clara.
I just love all Clara. I even like Series 7B Clara.
You're one of few I've heard that enjoy Series 7B Clara. And
it's a bit of a meme in my community, in my Discord, that I'm just a massive Clara simp. But you know, it's not wrong. So
hey, fair play, man, fair play. But if you're a Clara simp, then do you still you enjoyed Hellbent then?
Yeah, I really like Hellbent.
Yes!
I think it's the perfect payoff to their story. I think the main reason people hate it is because they wanted the Time Lords to be something that Moffat didn't want them to be. You know, Moffat was just, the whole point of Hellbent is like, oh yeah, the Time Lords, you know, don't Time Lords aren't anything special. Then because everyone still cared so much about the Time Lords, which, you know, it wasn't Davies' fault. It worked with the Davies era, making them so special because then it culminated in End of Time. Like, that was a great little way to characterize them. But then Moffat was like, he was called more of like the classic Robert Holmes style of just, the Time Lords exist, whatever. Like, so I feel like Hellbent was kind of just saying that to fans, like, who cares about the Time Lords? There's nothing interesting about them.
No, for sure.
I feel like that's why a lot of people hate it, is because it just demystified them.
Yeah. And which questions what the problem is with Chibnall, who's bringing them all back in with all this stuff. But I mean, also like the common things of Hellbent, it's like, the Doctor shoots down someone in cold blood, and whilst that's true, I mean, like, I'm not using the argument, they're a Time Lord, they'll regenerate. I'd argue it shows just how far this version of the Doctor is willing to go.
Yeah, it shows how toxic their relationship is, that he would go to such extremes.
Yeah.
Not just to try and prevent her death in the first place, but then, start shooting his own people who, until now he didn't even know were still around.
Yeah.
Like, he just shoots them, and
yeah,
like, it proves how toxic their relationship is.
Yeah, because a lot of people say, oh, but he's got, the moral code and he should never break it. And whilst I think for the majority, like, yeah, sure, I'm not saying he should do it every episode, but I'd always argue if a character doesn't at least stray from that moral code for a good reason, then it makes it less interesting.
Yeah, because like it's just a good character beat to say, hey, the Doctor is all no gun and stuff. What would drive him to shoot this other Time Lord?
Yeah,
so
no, for sure.
Yeah.
No, it's just I'm glad someone else likes Hellbent. That makes me very happy.
I think it's massively unfairly hated.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy it quite a lot.
I think it's been softened a bit now because of, as I call it, everyone's favourite, The Timeless Children. And I know you've, for anyone who hasn't seen it, you have done a video on it, and I think the thumbnails is like this is all wrong, or something like that. So
it was definitely me clickbaiting a bit.
Hey, we've all been there.
Yeah,
no shame
this is basically the core of my channel, is just enough to not properly clickbait, but also enough to be.
It's like accurate clickbait. It's that weird like middle line of like it's clickbaity, but it's still technically true of what the video is going to be about. But for those I guess who haven't seen that, because I think I found everyone's sort of gripe with the Timeless Children. Those who have a gripe, it's always for like a different reason. I thought it'd be for like a similar thing. So what about for you made the Timeless Children like not work? I just thought it was a crap
episode. Like, I just thought it was really boring. It was just a bunch of exposition. Like, at the time, I really hated the twist, but I more just hate how the twist was executed. I'm still not a fan of the twist. The whole there are so many past lives of you. I think it's just such a stupid thing to make an entire series arc around one line in Brain of Morbius that fans had already headcanoned away as, it's just Morbius's faces, not the Doctor's. But now Chibnall was like, no, I'm going to write an entire series about how those are the Doctor's faces instead. I feel like that was a bit stupid. It was a bit unnecessary. But it's more just the execution.
Middle finger to everyone.
It's just more of the execution of it. It's just so boring. Like, it's just a bunch of exposition.
No, that's fair.
They go into the Matrix or whatever, but then I watched Deadly Assassin recently. They do so much with the Matrix in there.
Yeah.
The Doctor has to run away from being hunted. There are all these illusions and stuff. It's really inventive use of it. And in this, it's just Jodie Whittaker and Sacha Dhawan just standing there talking, literally in a void.
Yeah,
I was a
little disappointed how the Matrix, as you say, was just like this weird like wobbly void, or it's a place where we stand and watch things happen, rather than like you said about Deadly Assassin, where the Doctor's actually. There's threats, because that could have been, especially with the modern series and technology, that premise could have been really, really cool.
It could have been great. You could have brought back like monsters from the series as she tries to sort of, survive in the Matrix, and it could have been a really good way. And then, just the whole story is just really forgettable, and it just, despite trying to do so much, it doesn't actually really do anything, especially because, the Roof Doctor shows up and goes like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter anyway. Like, your past doesn't matter. And it's like, okay, well, why make a big deal out of it in the first place then, Chibnall?
Sure.
Like, if you're just going to then write this cop-out thing of just saying, oh, you're still who you are, don't let it define you. Yeah. Why do it in the first place?
No, I hear you. I mean, I've had a lot of time, as we all have, like, well, it's been a year now, which is crazy, to, sort of either rewatch it or think about it or process it. And I've always, even on first broadcast, I enjoyed the idea of it, the concept of it. I thought this could be interesting. But I think now I've come to the conclusion, it felt more like it should have been a penultimate episode rather than a series finale. Because I know, like, you have to acknowledge that, you know, in series 13, all those questions we left, like, Chibnall could answer them or whatever, but it's a long gap, you know, and I think that's where I think that's where a certain chunk of the distaste for it has come from, because obviously it's left us with so many questions and we're not going to get answers
so long to get the answer. And usually it's good when shows do that because it leaves you wanting more, but this is more like, well, we don't like this, so we don't want more. Like, we want the explanation, but we don't want to sit through more. Like, it's one of those weird things.
I just feel if this had been like, you know, the penultimate episode, and then immediately the next week we got, even if not all the answers, but like some more clarity or done something more with it. Yeah, I think, like, if I rewatch it now and I with that mindset of I'm watching this as a penultimate, I think it works a lot better, just structurally, cohesively. It works so much better with the mindset of this is a cliffhanger to a finale. And it is a shame that in Revolution of the Daleks we get a tiny reference about what happened and not much.
When Ryan goes, and how does that make you feel?
Yeah, like I like that scene, like the scene I like, but yeah, I was kind of like, come on, give us a bit more, give us a bit more than that.
Yeah, but, like Time of Children is a weird one because I remember saying in my video that, you know, the Doctor has infinite regenerations basically now, and, you know, that it's still on the table because that hasn't been disproven.
Yeah.
Now, if the Doctor or Time's Child or whatever was one of the very founders of Gallifrey, even if not officially, then that means they would have had to have been going through a lot of bodies for a long time, essentially meaning they have infinite regenerations. Yeah. So, but then people what stops the Doctor just sacrificing themselves at every opportunity? And people love to comment on that video saying, "Oh, well, it's like dying. They don't want to do it." And it's like, you know, the Doctor usually doesn't care about dying. It was just the 10th Doctor who was like, because the 10th Doctor was vain and didn't want to lose his face. You know, not every incarnation is going to be like that. Not every incarnation should be like that. It was like a one-off story. And they essentially, at the end of that story, showed why it's bad to hold that idea of, I can't die. I shouldn't die. You know, the Doctor as a person would never just be like, oh, no, I'm not going to sacrifice myself to regenerate, like, to save this one person. I'm just going to let him die because then I can keep my face. You know?
Yeah, so... And I saw some people say the same about Capaldi, and I'm like, well, no, that's different, because rather than not wanting to die, I'd argue that was a incarnation who was almost ready to die. Yeah, you know, he didn't want to regenerate for this.
His story is he's just like, I'm
but some people seem to take that as, I don't want to change, as in, I want to keep this body. But I always read it as, no, like, I'm ready to.
That's what like Twice Upon a Time was all about. He just wanted to die. Like, he was like, well, I'm dying and I don't want to change. Like, I don't want to change because I want to just die. Like, he was like, I don't want to fix myself.
That's it. You know, done. Yeah.
And that's why I like Twice Upon a Time so much, because it's...
Me too, man. Me too. You're like the first. I think you're the first guest I've talked to where Twice Upon a Time's come up and you've actually said, "Yeah, I like it." So thank you very much.
Yeah, I really like it. I think a lot of people just hate it because there's no threat.
And also the weird 60, you know, the first Doctor's now apparently a sexist.
Well, yeah, but there's only like 2 lines when that's really an issue, and then you know, you just overlook that. It's fine. You know. Yeah, I think it's a really good episode. You know, it's a really touching story, especially because I've got a strong personal connection with it, because the whole story is about sort of just letting go of your like past and sort of maturing and stuff. And that kind of came, you know, I was like 18, 19 when I watched it. So you're in that era of like, well, it's time to let go of my past and grow up almost, which is kind of like what the episode is all about. So yeah, it has a real touching sort of element for me.
Yeah. No, I think it's just really magical. I like how almost minimalist it is. Like, some say, it hasn't got like a main villain. I'm like, well, it didn't really need one.
Yeah. And I think that's why it works well, because then it's just a character piece. Like some of the best Doctor Who episodes don't have a villain.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Like Turn Left doesn't really have a villain. I know the Time Beetle and stuff, it's not really a villainous presence. It's just kind of there in the background. It's a character piece. You know, Listen, no villain. That's an incredible story. And then Twice Upon a Time, no villain. It's really good. Yeah. You know, Midnight has more of a villain, but you know, it's only in the last 15 minutes that it's really a proper villain, because you know, when it then gets the power to actually be a walking, talking person, and trap the Doctor instead. But yeah, I mean, some of the best Doctor episodes are just no actual villain.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've loved it when the revival series sort of takes that stride away from the status quo. If we've got a monster or a big bad, and it isn't afraid to do these like weird, different pieces. Because as you said, I've often found those ones that do it. Listen, Twice Upon a Time. They work. They really do work.
And it's like I'm one of the very few people that actually really likes Edge of Destruction, the first Doctor story. Because again, no villain. It's just experimental, and I just like because the show is supposed to be experimental. Absolutely. The very nature of it is experimental. So when it does that, I usually find it works well.
No, for sure. And I mean, here's hoping Chibnall does some more of it in the future. But nervous laughter. But yeah. I mean, one thing I always find interesting to ask people is, I think we've all got a story where the general, because again, you know what fandom's like, the general consensus is it's not a good story for whatever reason, but it might be a story that you actually really love. So do you have, classic or modern, like a story like that where the consensus is like, oh, it's not very good, but you're like, actually, I really do love
Quite
it?
a few actually, Sleep No More, Love and Monsters.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just Monsters, it was kind of why I started my Defending the Despise series, was because these are all episodes I do enjoy myself. Like, when people are saying, oh, are you going to do so-and-so Defending the Despise? It's like, well, no, because I actually don't like that episode. So I feel no reason to defend it, because the whole thing is just my personal opinion and why the episodes are better. Love and Monsters is actually a weird one, because there's been a huge renaissance of people saying that it's better. I didn't see that when I made my video. And it was around the same time that I was writing it or whatever, that it seemed to have been coming back. As I said, I didn't see it when I was making it, but then after I released it, I just because it was in my mind, I just started seeing it everywhere. Even though my video wasn't massive or anything at the time, so it clearly had no influence on anyone. Just from the perspective of me saying, me knowing, oh, this episode isn't too bad, I just started seeing it crop up everywhere I looked. And I really think it's underrated, because everyone's like, oh, it's bad because of Absorberlorf and cringy and stuff, but it's just a really good story about the fan base itself in a microcosm.
Yeah. And that's why people don't like it, because they see you see yourselves in the episode. No, but you are absolutely right. I mean, I remember seeing the I think Doctor Who Lockdown did a watch along of it not too long ago, and the amount of praise and love for it there. And I do
everyone's massively come around on it.
It's like when I remember getting into Classic Who, and at that time, like 2005, like the 6th Doctor and 7th Doctor, like most of their 10 years were just for some reason universally despised, whereas now
everyone loves the 7th Doctor, especially season 26, everyone loves that. So
that same reappraisal of like Love and Monsters, then do you think other stories, like I'm trying to think what's near the bottom, things like Fear Her and things like that have a chance? I don't think
Fear Her will ever get an appraisal, because I think even the people who like it, I don't think it's that bad, but even the people who like it admit that there are quite a lot of flaws in there, not to say they hate it or anything, but a lot of people are saying, like, I understand why people don't like it, because it was a backup script at the end of the day, so it wasn't really meant to be something amazing. But I feel like there's always scope for reappraisal of stories, and there definitely is. Not Love and Monsters is not going to be the last one to be reappraised. I can guarantee that. But I don't know, maybe you'll get some more classic Who ones that the ultimate that I want reappraised is the Space Pirates, just because apparently it's really good. No, Fraser Hines said it was like his favorite story, and and apparently episode 2 is the worst possible representation of it. But yet that's the one that survived. So maybe there's some gold in there, and we'll get another Enemy of the World situation.
I would honestly, mate, I would love that. I've recently listened to it on audio, because of course that's well, aside from the like telesnap reconstruction, that's the only way we can do. And I'm fully prepared to accept that maybe just listening to it is not good. It
might be one of those, like, obviously I can't say, like, I haven't listened to it in ages, but I can't say whether it's good or bad or underrated or whatever, but it's one of those where everyone hates it so much that I want it to get reappraised, because I love a good underdog story. I always love a good underdog story, so I want to see that one kind of reappraised if it ever gets found, but I sadly don't think it will. But
you're right, though, because Enemy had such a reappraisal once we could actually see all of it. Like, everyone loves it now.
Definitely. So it shows that there is always the potential for for any story to get reappraised. Like it. I can't remember where I read it somewhere, but it's kind of what I've adopted as like my unofficial slogan for Defending the Despised. But it's like every episode is someone's favorite.
Yeah,
literally, like every single episode is someone's favorite, even the ones like Love and Monsters or Fear Her. The ones you think, oh, how could anyone possibly love this? Someone does, which is the beauty of how big the fan base is that every story has, is someone's favorite.
Yeah. Do you see any of Jodie's era think might get a just given, I know some of the vitriol at the minute is clearly just people doing it for the sake of it.
Well, the funny thing is, I actually saw like Women Who Fell to Earth get like a negative reappraisal, because I remember when that came out, I wasn't really a fan of it, but everyone was really saying, "Oh, this is great. This is oh, it's back on its feet. The show's looking really great." But now everyone doesn't like it anymore.
Okay.
Like, it's something I noticed, because it was similar to Force Awakens when that came out. Everyone thought, oh, yeah, this is great. This is what I wanted it to be. It's Star Wars is back. And now everyone just hates it. It seems to happen quite a lot with stuff these days. Something comes out, everyone either loves it or hates it. And then, give it a year or two, and then everyone switches. So, I feel like Jodie's era is a weird one. I know this is kind of a stupid statement to say, but it's either going to end up really fondly remembered or really hated.
No, for sure.
Because people might look back at it and say, "Oh, this was great," forgetting about, once you're detached from all the, as you said, discourse on Twitter and everything, once you're detached from all of that, it could end up standing really well on its own. Yeah. But now that it's airing, because everyone always hates the current era, basically that's like the rule of Doctor Who. You always hate who's currently running the show. Like, so like maybe once it finishes and it's all wrapped up, it may get reappraised. I'm always up for that. I'm happy that people like the era. Like it's not my cup of tea, but I'm glad it has that like special meaning to other people, like the Davies and Capaldi era have for me. That's what some people feel about the Jodie era, and that's fantastic. So
and it's great, isn't it? Because I love going back to, whether it's classic or modern, like a story where whenever I first watched it, I was like, do you know what, I wasn't keen on that, and then watching it again and being like, oh my god, this is actually this. I had that with Invasion of the Dinosaurs. I remember when I first watched that, I think I was too preoccupied on the the dinosaur and being like, oh, this is rubbish, like it's too long. But then I rewatched it, and like the actual stories of it, like the plot and stuff, I was like, this is actually really, really good for 1974. So I love doing that. And I'll tell you what, if Doctor Who magazine do another poll, and if the Twin Dilemma is the bottom again, I swear to God, it doesn't deserve to be there, man. It really doesn't. What would you say does? Oh God, everyone asked me that. For me, honestly, like the Dominators. Patrick Troughton with the Quarks.
That bad when I watched it. Maybe that's because it wasn't filmed like that far away from where I used to work, so maybe I've got like that kind of connection to it.
I just found that was one I did rewatch recently, and I was just like, the main cast are fine, but it just for being on a planet called Dulcus, it is just really dull. I think it's one of the few Doctor Who stories where I didn't feel entertained, and I feel whether a story's good or bad, as long as you're having fun and entertained, I think that's like the ultimate. Like I could watch something. Go on,
my equivalent would be like Praxeus or something like that. Then that's where fair. It was just so dull and just boring. And just a slog to watch.
So do you think, is that what should be at the bottom of the new poll?
I mean, I'm probably not. There are probably other deserving ones, but off the top of my head, I'd probably say Praxeus is probably the worst. Which is weird, because Peter McTighe, I think, is a good writer. I thought Kablam was the most Doctor Who feeling episode now, regardless of the awkward political messaging at the end. Like I think as an episode, just it felt well paced and everything. But then the next series, you think, okay, this one's going to be good because it's written by the guy that wrote the only episode I liked in series 11. And it's like,
I remember people had that with Neil Gaiman. A lot of people, me included, I love The Doctor's Wife for the most part. I really like the ideas and concepts, and then Nightmare in Silver happened, and it was I
really like Nightmare in Silver.
Do you? Fair enough then. But I watched that.
I haven't actually seen Doctor's Wife in ages. I think I've only seen it like twice. When it came out, and then like one rewatch. I can't really remember much about it. But it's funny, I've seen Nightmare in Silver more than that.
Admittedly, I think Nightmare in Silver, again, like on the social media side, gets dogged purely for that one line at the end, where he's talking about Clara. What is it? The mystery wrapped in this, which is a bit of a creepy line. Yeah. It's a bit of a.
I feel like that
was
Moffat wanted that in. I don't think Neil Gaiman would have said.
Yeah, he sure did.
I think Moffat snuck that in right at the end.
Yeah, I just think Nightmare, for me at least, like devoid of that. If we're looking at the whole picture, I just think whilst it was cool to see the Cybermen again. I just think that idea of always upgrading is cool on paper. But it's just...
it doesn't really translate well because it makes them too unstoppable.
Yeah, it's like that question, isn't it? Like, how do you stop them then if they're always gonna upgrade?
That's kind of how like Wild Enough in Time and Dr. Fools worked well because they're like, well, you don't, you just like everyone in the story is gonna die eventually. Like,
and that's why the Capaldi era is better.
Like Nardole and all these people in this farmstead, they're going to die in a couple of years. When the Cybermen catch up to them, they're done for. But I just don't really like that Cyberman design from Nightmare in Silver. I think it looks too robotic, which is weird because I like the Cybermen, but I feel like they at least made sense because they were purely human made. From the parallel Earth, they were very much like, okay, if you're going to put your brain inside a mech suit, this is what you're going to put it in. But then, like the ones in Nightmare in Silver, and like the Series 8 finale, they were supposed to be a fusion between those and the Mondasian. Or is it Mondasian? I never know how to say it right. There's supposed to be a fusion between those two, and I just feel like there's too much robot in there.
Yeah, I mean that design, like you say, I agree. It's almost too robotic, but at the same time, there are so many like shots or moments where nothing against the people who designed it, but it looks just like someone's putting on. It doesn't. It looks robotic, but not like metallic. It doesn't look metallic. It doesn't look like this thing that could break your arm if it is.
What was really weird is I noticed it in the Series 8 finale more, but sometimes their thing just doesn't light up. And it's like how like. What was going on there? I think there's a shot in Series 8, like that finale, where there's like a group of them marching. There's like 2 with the blue light and then like 3 without it. And it's like, what? Is this a production error? Is this supposed to mean something? Like...
The diva, that's what you got to get when you get to Series 8. You've got to dedicate 10 minutes to just talking about this and what it all means.
It's just one of those weird gripes I always have of it. It's like I don't understand why. Like why some aren't lit.
But it's just popped in my head as well. You did a video quite a while ago about In the Forest of the Night, and is it really the most hated episode ever?
I don't think it's that bad. Like, it's not great,
not me.
But it's just one of those where it's like, obviously some episodes have to be the butt of jokes and some have to be disliked, but I feel like it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's the weakest of the season, but I still think it has a few good ideas. And I think the common criticism it always gets, the doctor's telling kids that if you're on tablets, you shouldn't take them. When I rewatched it again, I was like, the first time he mentions it, he's like, he's not saying that. He's just saying, oh, what a typical response. Like kids are trying to tell you something and you put them on medication. I'd argue that's not saying don't take meds. I think it's the second time where it's a bit misguided. I can't remember exactly how he says it, but the way he words it does imply that more. But I don't think that was Frank Control Boyce's message.
No. The message isn't anything about that. It's just like, oh yeah, this child doesn't have schizophrenia or like anything like that. They just they're just hearing this thing. So it's a thing of saying like, oh, sometimes we misdiagnose or like we just don't understand. Like I don't know. I feel like people do kind of get a bit too up in arms about that line and kind of take it, put their own meaning on it.
Yeah,
whereas,
absolutely.
I don't think, as you said, I don't think that is kind of the message.
No, and I mean, all I'll say is I don't like the very end. That it's a bit the girl in the bush sort of thing.
Yeah, that was stupid. It's like, why is she in the bush?
Yeah, no explanation.
Was she just there the whole time?
Just you wait till we get the Target novelization of in the Forest of the Night, where it's all explained why she's in the bush.
No, when we get the Big Finish Maeve spin-off series, where she and her sister go on adventures in London.
Oh, Dave! Like I mean, I've noticed that as well from what you have posted on Twitter and stuff. You've been delving a lot into Big Finish recently. Have you always been a Big Finish listener, or is this something recent?
I used to be like pretty, not like against it. I used to just be pretty set on like, oh, I can't get into audio. And then just last year, I guess it was around like I it was one of those things where there was this meme in my fan base that kind of rose about, the Eighth Doctor being the greatest Doctor and everything. And, I was saying that all without actually having seen anything apart from Night of the Doctor. So then I decided, okay, well, I've got to, maybe actually listen to some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think it was my first entry to Big Finish was the 3 10th Doctor Adventures box sets.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because obviously I thought, well, if there's any avenue for me getting into Big Finish, it's going to be my favorite Doctor. So, that should hopefully be the best way to get into it. And yeah, so it ended up being the best way. And then from there, I thought, okay, I think I'm equipped now to go in with the Eighth Doctor stuff. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying that. I've got To the Death to listen to. And then that's the entire, first 4 series of the Eighth Doctor Adventures I've listened to.
Oh, so you started with the Lucy Miller stuff?
Yeah, because I thought, because again, that was kind of, that era was designed to be a sort of a gateway for Davies era fans to get into Big Finish. So I thought, okay, I'll start with that because I'm not a huge fan of the 4-part format of Doctor Who. So I thought, okay, if I try and start with, Storm Warning onwards, I probably wouldn't get far, especially because those early stories aren't even that great. So, it would be a quick way to put
some
me
of
off
them,
it.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't listened to Chimes. I listened to that on Christmas Eve with the exact timings, the way it's intended.
That's a beautiful story.
That was really good. Yeah, that was incredible.
No, I think they're moving away from that 4-part thing anyway, because the monthly range, has ended now, and I think they're all going to box sets of 1-hour stories, which I think you say is more accessible as well for people. Yeah. No, I mean, if you're looking for any spin-offs, I'd recommend the Lives of Captain Jack is a surprisingly good series.
I've thought about maybe getting that. I'm going to end up with a bunch of Torture stuff. I've already got Aliens Among Us, Archive, Believe, and Outbreak, which I haven't listened to any of those yet at all. But yeah, eventually I'm just going to get the entire main range of Torchwood and God Among Us and just all that stuff. But I'm not sure about Lives of Captain Jack because I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm not a fan of John Barrowman.
That is fair enough.
Given some things I've heard about conduct.
That is fair enough. That is completely fair enough.
It's weird. It's like a whole box set about him. Torchwood I don't mind because it's usually the other people as well. But I like Captain Jack as a character, but it's just when there's a whole box set about him, I'm just like, maybe not.
Are you ready for that? Yeah. I mean, it's not like you're short for choice on spin-offs. There's literally, I mean, I must admit, I've still got loads to listen through, and there's been some I've been surprised by, but I mean, some of them I still sort of scratch my head and think, Tales from New Earth is the one I always go to. It's
literally, I used to see that cover and I thought it was a fan-made cover for so long. I thought it was just like a fan mock-up, and I realised, oh, no, wait, what? That's an actual official product? What?
It's one I've got on my shelf, but I must admit, I haven't, listened. I think I'm putting it off. I'm like, do I want to listen?
You conveniently place it, behind a picture frame so no one ever sees that you have it.
It's hidden behind everything, yeah. I think the one I think I'll listen to next, though, that I'm curious to see if it's any good or not, is the Jenny one, the Doctor's daughter, because people again are like, oh, yeah, it's not very good, blah, blah, blah. But
I've heard, mixed things about it. But,
I'm willing to give it a chance,
always wanted, so
yeah, I think it's got potential at the very least. But yeah, I think that's half the fun though with Big Finish, isn't it?
Yeah,
you sort of never know.
That's because it's where I'm not really enjoying the current TV stuff on Doctor Who. Big Finish, it's all new to me. I know certain stuff. I've known the twists, the ending of To the Death. Well, not the exact ending, but I know what happens to certain people in that story. I've known that for a while. But even though I haven't listened to it yet, but then the rest of the H Doctor stuff, no idea. I have no idea what happens to characters or anything like that. So it's it's all new, and that's really fun. It's experiencing new Doctor Who for the first time, which is always great.
Yeah, and it's just one avenue of all the whole expanded media of Doctor Who. And just while I thought on that, have you thrown yourself into Time Lord Victorious?
No.
No, I haven't.
I still think it's a bit of a stupid idea.
Do you?
I've heard some people say, "Oh no, it's good and stuff," but I just feel like it's doing such a big project like that without the current Doctor during the current Doctor's era, it feels a bit misguided to me because it's taking attention away from the current era.
I think that's been the current complaint, isn't it? Especially this past year. Yeah.
Like I get that they can't have Jodie in Big Finish because of licensing and stuff, but there's no reason to say 13th Doctor couldn't have been in all the comics and books and stuff rather than say the 10th Doctor.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess you kind of had to have the 10th Doctor there. You know, maybe, I don't know, just you could find a way. Like, yeah.
It's another example of that wonderful fan thing where he literally said Time Lord Victorious once, and someone was like, yes.
I like the idea of, like, you know, maybe just one Big Finish box set between that and End of Time Part 1, you know, where he is kind of on the edge and you get to delve more into that. But making it this massive thing where he's in an alternate universe where the Time Lord never happened, or so, it's just so weird. I just don't understand.
Yeah, no, I know it's come under a lot of mixed review. I know that,
and
maybe
it's
one day
not very accessible because of how much you need to like buy. Stuff.
So some people have said that have like embraced it. Said, oh, you could just read the books or just read the comics, and you still get like a. But for me, it's always like if you go in for this sort of multimedia thing, then I'd argue it's heavily implied that you need to experience all of it to get the most out of the story, rather than bits and pieces.
I feel like they went way too gung-ho with the amount of platforms.
Yeah.
Because, you know, rather than it just being books, audios, and comics, it was books, audios, comics, other audios, other comics, like an app, a game,
a t-shirt,
t-shirts, escape rooms, a live event, and you know, it was just way too much.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely absurd how much there was. Because, you know, I feel like I always say this when talking about Time Lord Victorious, but it was clear they wanted to do their own, was it Shadow of the Empire?
Yes.
Which Star Wars did between the original trilogy and prequel trilogy, as sort of like the unofficial, like, you know, next movie or whatever. Which, you know, but that was just, I think it was just books, comics, games, and then you could get toys or anything, but there wasn't like story in them. But you know, it was focused, and a lot of people really like it because of that. But then Doctor Who comes in, and there's too much. Like if it had just been 3 easily accessible platforms, I think it would have been able to tell a much more focused story.
Well, maybe, I mean, we can only hope maybe, you know, if they go for this again in the future, they might streamline it a bit more, or
hopefully
if they do something like this again. But I mean, that's up to the managerial side. And I mean, one thing I do want to ask you that I ask a lot of my guests, because let's face it, as Doctor Who fans, we've all maybe thought at one point, oh, if we were in charge, what would we do? So I guess if you were in charge of, let's say, just like the TV show, if you were the showrunner, are there any certain things you'd want to do with it, or like bring back or introduce as new? Like what would you want to do?
That's the thing. Like I'm like, because I've got an overview of the series, you know, and I've written like one script, but it was ages ago. I haven't been able to focus and get into it. I know I want to eventually finish writing it, but no, I feel like you know, the one story I have written was about sort of like they find a TARDIS that was stolen by a like another one of the Osirians, you know, from Sutek's lot, you know, and this was that like the God of War or something who inspired the Ice Warriors, and you know, they've stolen this TARDIS, but the TARDIS is dying because it's been abandoned for so long, and so the Doctor has to like pilot it into a sun to destroy it. You know, it's just this whole emotional thing. You know, that's probably like the only thing I really have fleshed out for that. But yeah, I feel like I want to sort of dabble in concepts like that, where it's like you have sort of the Davies era, like the 10th Doctor era of like the loneliness and, you know, needing a companion to be there, then also kind of going quite experimental with it. Like another one I'd even have my own Mission to the Unknown, where it's essentially Alien, but with that one lone cybermite from the end of Nightmare in Silver, you know, the one that's floating in space. Latches onto a freighter and kills all the people, turns them into cyber zombies. They crash onto a ship. 2 episodes later in the finale, oh, what do you know? Now the Doctor and the companions suddenly have to deal with this. So yeah, and I feel like I just have fun, contained ideas. I don't have like a massive story arc that I'd ever want to delve into.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that's kind of where Doctor Who thrives, is in that kind of balance between, you have a massive, like a big story arc that pays off in the finale, but usually the best story arcs are through themes, as you said. It's a bit of a meme, themes or whatever. But like, the themes of saying like, oh, the companion who doesn't want to travel at the moment, that their first few adventures, they couldn't get home. They were promised one trip, they couldn't get home after that. But then, they halfway through, they have the choice and they decide to come back. And at the end, they make their choice to, okay, I want to settle down here with this character I met or whatever. And, it's a journey for the character. And, I love characters. That's kind of where I kind of think I'm strongest at kind of understanding and stuff. So if I was to do a story arc, if I was in charge, it would be very sort of character based, rather than just, oh, they're searching for this thing that they've heard about through all their adventures. What could it be? Oh no, it was the Jadoon sending messages through time.
Yeah. So there's no immediate plans to script your Discord rights Doctor Who then?
Oh gosh, that was terrible. I hated like the editing process of that was probably the worst process I've ever experienced as a creator. Like, I remember going into it, I was so excited to do it. Like, yeah, this is going to be great, or it was fun to read what they wrote. It was fun to record it. And then editing took me so long, and I was just like, yeah, I'm never gonna do
again. So sorry guys, there's gonna be no sequel unless Harbo gets an editor. There's gonna be no sequel.
I got an editor for the second part.
Oh right,
like that was how bad it was. Yeah, I was just like, there's no way I can do both parts. It took me months to do the first part alone, especially because I was having to balance it with other stuff the whole time. Because usually I can get my videos edited in like a week or something, but there were so many moving parts. It's like I can't just take a week to edit this. I've got to do it while I'm still producing other stuff, and then just find time for it.
Yeah,
it was a nightmare. But yeah, like I have always wanted to be a writer.
Yeah,
which I don't really give myself much time to practice or anything like that. The last thing I wrote was my like lockdown short story, almost like a year ago. I think it was like maybe like April or something, May last year.
Yeah,
something I can't remember when exactly that was, but yeah, that was the last piece of fiction I wrote. And people said, oh, this is great, you should do more. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do an audio series about unit like it's SCP. And then I just never I never find the spark. I always need a spark. And when it comes to my fiction, I can only write in like one short, like really dense burst where I can just bang the whole thing out in like a day or two. But then it takes me like months and months to find the spark to do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, it's really annoying to do.
It's I know that completely. I mean, I got asked last summer to write a short piece for a theatre festival. I'm an actor by trade, so it's just like a short 15-minute audio thing, not Doctor Who related, but and for whatever reason, like the spark came straight away. Like you say, I got it all down. It was done. But then anytime I think, oh, I'd love to write like a Doctor Who thing, like I've got ideas, but like you say, it's the spark. Like if it's not there, then it just doesn't. It doesn't. I
always feel like I'd probably achieve like my best potential, like probably with like a co-writer or something. Because I'm more of sort of I come up with these great ideas, but then when it comes down to actually fleshing them out, putting it on paper, I can't really bring myself to do it.
Yeah. It's tough. Like all the writers out there, the professional writers, like I don't envy your jobs at all. But
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, but somehow they do. But hey, I think what's great about this community though is like, as you said, people are willing to listen to like original stuff written by people like you and me. It's not that scorn of but you don't write for the BBC, so this is going to be automatically shit.
Because that's the thing with Doctor Who. Like Big Finish and stuff started off as fan productions.
Yeah,
a bunch of those worked for BBV.
Yeah,
like as bad as those often are, those videos.
Well, they tried. They had a go.
That's where people like Mark Gatiss got his start.
Yeah,
it was for BBV, and then he went on to write for the show. So it's one of those few properties where you can go from just being a really passionate fan writing fan fiction to then actually writing for official the official show or for Big Finish or stuff. So I feel like it's probably the most promising like franchise for fans to engage with.
Yeah. You hear that, Big Finish? We're coming in. We're moving in.
Yeah,
the next generation. We're coming in.
Well, that being said, I'm hoping to write something for the Paul Spragg memorial short trip thing this year. Last year I kind of left it a bit too late, but I've got a killer idea, which obviously I don't want to say, but
no, of course,
partly against the rules and stuff. But I've got this killer idea that's just so Big Finish, like it's just perfectly stupid, like why it exists in the first place, which I think makes it perfect. So,
well, my fingers are crossed for you, mate. And again, for any aspiring writers out there, the Paul Spragg short trip release is a chance for people to submit their ideas to Big Finish for potential release. So if you're curious, go on the Big Finish website. You can learn all the details there.
Like summer or something, usually, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think
is
it the winner gets announced in December, and I think it closes in like October or something. So you've got time. Like you've got time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, well, I mean, I wish you all the best of luck with that.
I haven't even listened to a short trip yet. I don't really know how they're supposed to go, so I probably should get on that.
They vary to some degree. I think there can be anything. I don't know if the Paul Spragg is like a specific time limit, but I know from the ones I've listened to, I think they can be anywhere from, say, 15 to, I think, 45 minutes, the short trips. But...
Which is funny because, if it's 45 minutes, it's not really a short trip anymore.
It's a slightly middling trip.
Yeah.
It's not... But honestly, like I remember when I first heard the concept of them, I was like, I don't know, like, because it's basically taking one episode of, like Classic Who and saying, here's the story. And I thought, well, but do you know what? I've listened to some that are actually pretty damn good. What I'd recommend to yourself and anyone listening, it was quite recent, called Regeneration Impossible, which is
I think I've come across that.
I can't remember the writer, which is really bad, but it's
I know it's got Dodman as 11, doesn't it?
And 12.
It's read by
11 and 12.
Yeah, it's got Dodman as 11. He does such a good 11.
Oh, he's so good, yeah.
It's so uncanny.
So I won't say too much about it, but it's set during the Snowmen before Clara appears. It's that period when the 11th Doctor's sort of a bit down and out about losing Amy and Rory. And the 12th Doctor's also in it. So if you want to figure out how that works, it's only like £3 on Big Finish. So go and download it. It's brilliant. But speaking of short trips, actually, recently, like I remember I would always just be looking through. I see like, these 2 stories read by Camille. I never know how to say a second Camille
name.
Kaduri, is it? I think.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's got the Doctor on cover or whatever. Like there's a Zeppelin on there. Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then like I actually saw him. It's like, that's the Metacrisis Doctor. They actually did 2 short trips about the Metacrisis Doctor.
Yeah.
Like after Journey's End. So I may eventually end up delving into those.
Because of course they did. Because of course.
I mean, it is ripe for that. I guess actually that's something I would want to do if I was showrunner. Is bring back the Metacrisis Doctor as an antagonist who tries to like bluff the Doctor into letting him in and then trying to like steal the TARDIS or something because he's so sick of being like stranded on Earth.
Was that a thing in the comics or have I just made that up?
Possibly.
I feel like
I imagine it's possibly been done.
No, I don't think like done in the way you just described it, but part of my brain's like there was a comic where the Metacrisis Doctor did come back and he wasn't necessarily a good person. I don't think in the exact way you said it.
Knowing how much the comics have done, I wouldn't be surprised if that has been done.
If Adam Mitchell can be written in as like the big bad in the comics, then it's entirely possible.
But yeah, I mean, it would be great because you get David Tennant, like probably bearded David Tennant as well. Getting to play like a baddie in Doctor Who. I feel like he'd be up for that. He'd be up for reprising the Doctor in a way. It'd be a good way of bringing a Doctor back without needing some stupid you're halfway through your regeneration, your face has gone all weird, or the time-space distortion has made the 5th Doctor get a bit chubby. Like instead of having to explain something like, it's just the Metacrisis Doctor. He's just aged normally. So
it's a non-conventional way of bringing back a Doctor as well, which will be really cool. Yeah, absolutely.
And you could say, oh no, Rose died or something. Oh, what a shame.
He comes back and just goes, I killed her.
It would be like, oh no, but that wouldn't make him a villain anymore. I'd make him a hero.
But take that, Rose haters. But oh man. Well, Harbo, I think we'll begin to wrap things up. But before we do, in terms of your channel, anything you can reveal, what sort of stuff should we expect in the near future?
As I said, start mainly just Torchwood for like the the remainder of the year with specials reviews mixed in. But I am hoping to sort of go into some non-Doctor Who stuff, partly because of all the copyright, something I can't actually get stolen away from me.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I've got like a video essay planned on one of my favorite films, Run Lola Run.
Oh, nice! Yeah.
Oh, do you know of that?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I don't think I haven't seen it, but I do know of it. Yeah,
it's such a good film. But yeah, then I've got maybe a video about that, and then a video about a trope I really hate. When people, there's always in every piece of media, there's always that one scene where they're like, oh no, we have to shut the door from the inside, and I'll do it even though I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
It's every single thing. It's like, oh, this is how you kill off a main character in a series finale.
Yeah,
I hate that. I hate it so much. Like when it's not like done well. Like I say it, even though I would technically be doing that in my, like, without any spoilers, I would be doing that in my theoretical series of Doctor Who that I'd have planned. I'd have something similar to that. But it's just such an overdone trope. So I've got a tentative video about that planned. But yeah, some exciting stuff with the channel, kind of throwing it at the wall, seeing what sticks kind of this year.
Absolutely, man. I look forward to all of that. And for anyone watching and listening, go over to Harbo's channel, drop him a subscribe, and check out his stuff. And I mean, I'll let you do your own self-promotion rather than me do it. But if there's anything at all you want to shout out, please feel free to do so now.
I mean, obviously, apart from my channel, I stream like every Friday night on Twitch. Nothing really fancy, mainly because my internet can't handle it. But just a couple of hours just to hang out with viewers live. Apart from that, nothing really. My Twitter's not really that interesting. And yeah, I mean, yeah.
Awesome. That's fair. That's me. It's always funny. Sometimes people have like a big long list that they have to get out, and sometimes people are like, yeah, just YouTube, and that's it. So that's fair. Follow Harbo on YouTube. If
you have me on again in a year, I might have like an entire the whole series to shout out.
Yeah, buy my Big Finish box set. The second one's coming.
Harbo Wholmes Empire.
Yeah.
I'll have my own rival to Big Finish.
Yeah, you'll call it. I've got my own company. It's called Fig Binish or something like that. Just to
like large conclusion.
Hey, it may happen. Take Big Finish. We're coming in. Not to oust anyone out, but we're coming in. We're gonna sit side by side. But awesome. So guys, go and subscribe to Harbo on YouTube. Go and check him out on Twitch every Friday. For this show, again, thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, hope you've enjoyed it. Please do subscribe to this channel. Let us know what you thought in the comments down below. Leave us a like as well. Check out all the other episodes we've done. If you're just listening on the audios, that's fine and dandy with me. Just drop us a, what is it on like all these sites, like follow, or so they've all got a different word, haven't they? Yeah. It's just the equivalent.
Well, it's
just,
like, yeah, it's like Last FM is always the stupid one. It's Scrobble, which I still don't know what the hell Scrobble means.
Sounds very rude, but basically, yeah. If you go on then, scrobble us on whatever site, but yeah, give us a follow. We do appreciate your feedback, and we have new episodes coming.
Wherever there are comment sections, you can all criticize me for liking Clara and liking Hellbent, and not liking the Smith era. Just all these hot takes.
Clara simp.
Just destroy me in the comments. I will be looking.
Yeah, I'll be looking. He's used to it by now. He's had Clara simp over and over and over again. But honestly, mate, last thing I want to say is just thank you so much again for taking some time out to come on. I really appreciate it. And
it's been great.
Cheers, man, and best of luck with all your content in the future.
You too, it's been. I'd love to come on again if you ever.
Yeah, man, I'm looking at doing more little teas for anyone listening as well. I want to do more like collaborations, not just in like a podcast sense, whether it be a discussion video or something else. So yeah, definitely we'll definitely see about that. But in the meantime, all the best to yourself. We will destroy the content ID system together. And on that note, thank you very much for watching and listening, guys, and I will see you in the next